I just got done with my 5th book and you need to start writing yours. That intro was probably a little bit too aggressive, but I kind of like where I was going with it. Earlier this month, and I actually went to Comic-Con, and I was doing my first ever panel there at Comic-Con. I'm not a stranger to doing panels. I did 2 panels last year at Iron City Comic-Con, and I'm hoping to bring those back again this year. But this year at Comic-Con, I did a panel on Authors of the Future, which is basically me as a somewhat seasoned author and somewhat professional, basically giving tips, tricks on how I did my writing and how I went about publishing and advertising as such. I actually had a lot of fun with the panel, and it's brought to mind that I sort of want to do a redo of every single one of the Crow's Writing Desk videos here that were basically talking about tips and tricks for how to get your story from the first page all the way to the final draft. And I sort of want to redo that series, but first I actually have to finish it. The next few videos for that one are going to be talking about stuff to talk about self-advertising, as well as what to do when you finally get ready for your launch day. And I will actually be getting ready for launch day here in about a few months. My 5th book, Animae Nexum, which is the 5th installment of the Blood Chronicles and is the companion novel to Arborea Lux, is actually going to be coming out on April 26th to share the birthday with its companion. Shameless plug here, if you've not read Arborea Lux and if you've not read the Seraphim Trilogy, which is the sequel to the book, you can actually go down to the description below to my link tree and go to my website. My website will also have my Square site store on there. I've moved everything up onto there. It's just a little bit easier to keep everything organized. You can find signed copies of the books there, as well as a very massive sticker collection that I'm going to be growing later on, but I'll talk about that later on in the video. If you guys are interested, please go down to the description below and go check it out. But I started this video off with saying that I finished my 5th book and you need to start on yours, so I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to actually get started with writing. And along the way, I'll be telling you about some events that I'm going to be going to in the future, so you can ask me these questions yourself. So, let's get on into the video. Okay, so tips for writing your story. Number 1, I would say have an idea or have a multitude of ideas that sort of mesh together. I say this as someone who wrote a manuscript when I was in high school and went through the entire thing just based off of the one idea. That one idea cannot steer an entire book along. A lot of books that we like nowadays are actually clusters of ideas and inspirations from other pieces of media that we've done. For example, that one manuscript that I was talking about before, I've basically just like ballooned it into basically being Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instrument series, but make it X-Men. To be fair, this is a Why Choose Romance that I'm doing, and it is going to be very, very interesting to see how I deal with that. But it's one of those things where it's like you have an idea and you let it snowball until you get something that you can actually write with. So that's tip number 1. When you have your ideas, don't feel pressure to start writing about it right away, just because of the fact that unless you are a hardcore pantser or discovery writer, this can actually lead to more problems than it does solutions. At Comic-Con and everything, I actually got to talk with some people about how they start their stories. And a lot of people, to my surprise, were actually a mix of both plotters and pantsers. So let's go into some definitions real quick. George R. Martin once said that there are 2 kinds of writers, that there are your gardeners and there are your architects. And these, I think, are pretty good ways to describe both ends. We'll start with architects. Architects are people who love plotting out everything. They would like to know exactly what the story is going to be before they actually start writing. This is primarily called timelining, and it's basically pinpointing what events are actually going to be happening in your story. A little bit of a weird thing that I used to do when I was in high school when actually planning the books out for that manuscript, because I went from one book to wanting to be several. I actually went on one single sheet of paper, wrote down several different events and everything, and just was just like spider webbing it all, sort of like that crazy meme where like the guy, like the unhinged guy, is trying to find the connections between everything. It was sort of like that. That, in essence, is being the architect of your own story. You're plotting the story out. And for a lot of people who went to high school and were having to do a lot of research essays and everything, this actually primarily may be familiar to you. It's a habit that some of us actually cling to in order to basically structure the rest of projects that we're doing. And while it is helpful, there are some people who do not subscribe to this fact, aka my ADHD writers. These people are your gardeners. They are the people that basically plant seeds of a story and then watch it grow and basically describe how it grows from there on. It's basically one of those things where it's a choose your own adventure style of thing, where you have a number of choices that are spur of the moment, and basically you're just going with the flow. It's like, and some of us, I know some of us who are very hardcore Otome gamers actually like looking online to see about where the correct answers go, but most of the time you just, in writing and everything, you don't have that luxury. You just take a pen and you keep running with it. This is how I usually do my writing. It's definitely what I did for Arborea Lux and for the Seraphim trilogy. I literally planned nothing about it besides just who I wanted the characters to be and what they looked like. Some of the aspects of the city, especially in between from where we started out in Arborea Lux to where we're going to where we were in the Seraphim trilogy. And let's just say that it was a long road, and I will say this, it actually was probably one of my more successful ways of actually writing. But these are the gardeners, these are the discovery writers, these are the pantsers. They literally fly by the seat of their pants. They basically, like I said, take a pen from their story and they run with it to see where it goes. There's a very funny pin that I have on my backpack that says "My characters won't behave," and very much it needs to be a t-shirt as well as a slogan for our discovery writers. Just to be perfectly clear, you do not have to be strictly one or the other. I know a lot of people who are hybrids. Hybrid writing is basically what I was doing when I was first mapping out the events for the books that I wanted to do in high school. It's writing out specifically what you want different events to be, but not going into details beyond that point. It's like, yeah, these events may be connected, but how are they connected? What characters connect them? What does the story get from point A to point B? And that's basically where the gardening aspect comes into play. I sometimes call this minor outlining or timelining, and it actually works very, very simple when you are actually having difficulties figuring out where your story should go. But in essence, those are the options that you have when you are planning out what to do with your story. We're not quite to the how do we get started writing bit real quick. We're still getting our brains in the mood for it. And to this end, I actually have an artsy tip, and I also have a musical tip. When it comes to reading and writing, descriptions are everything, but when you're first starting your story out, descriptions can be a little wonky. You still have to fine-tune them to make sure you get the image of what you're imagining onto the page so that other people can also see that same image. But in the beginning, how do you find these vibes? How do you find what the characters are like? So here's your artsy tip. Your artsy tip is Pinterest. Pinterest is going to be your best friend here. Come up with mood boards for your characters as well as the plotline of your story and just the general vibe. When I was first doing Arborea Lux, I actually did a character mood board collage for every single character that was going to show up in Arborea Lux. And I also added in a few Easter eggs here and there to basically say, hey, these people are not exactly all what they seem. This was not only a good way for me to keep in mind what the vibes for a certain character were, but they were also very good ways to actually talk about the characters for people who were wanting to get interested in the book. I still have some of those character mood boards and everything. I'll show them like some of them pictures right here, and I will actually be going back and I will be doing some more trailer videos for Arboreolux, and also making some more for Animae Nexum, considering these two are going to be companions, and I am actually going to be selling them together in the merch box books. Book merch boxes. I have to come up with something better for those. But that's more of the visual aspect of what these characters are. The mood boards help you to actually help out figure out what the vibes are going to be, and also you can do it for places in the book. I also did one for Obsidia Terma. I want to do one for the barracks as well, and I'm also going to be doing one for the Royal Estate as well as the barracks within the Royal Estate. Primarily because these are places that will often appear in the story Animae Nexum. And I will get those to you sooner rather than later. But that's the visual side of things. What are we going to do for the musical side? Whether you're a theater kid or you're a hardcore moviegoer, one of the things that you will always latch onto when it comes to good visual media is the music. Movie soundtracks are basically a form of storytelling themselves. You put a certain song with a certain scene that goes on in that movie. And here is basically what I do for every single one of my books. I come up with a playlist. I do a playlist for every story that I do, and I try to keep the vibes sort of going from like all the way down to how I want it to go. It very much is a work in progress for how these songs basically line into each other depending on what happens in the book. But the thing about it is that it's a good way for you to also advertise for the vibes of your book as well. There are a lot of books that actually have a playlist designated to what they were writing, about, and they usually have it at the beginning of the books. When I get done with the entire series of the Astroblood Chronicles, I will actually be redoing the entire format of the book, and I will also be putting in playlists. Because yes, I do have a playlist for every single book in the Astroblood Chronicles. You cannot stop my brain. It is hell inside my head. Coming up with a playlist also helps you get the general vibe, so it sort of tricks your mind into basically coming up with character dynamics. Everyone in the world has a song that they designate with a certain ship. And it could be something that is just completely innocent. It could be something a little bit toxic. It could be just out there. My advice to you would actually be to go and look at animatics for books and other visual media and see what they do. There are some book trailers that actually will have a designated song to each of them. You usually see them every once in a while. On my channel page, you will see that I have 2 videos up that are basically the exact same video, but they have different songs to them. Both songs have actually worked very, very well. One, because they are popular, but also they add that little bit of mysticism because that actually works really well with the world of the Astroblood Chronicles. I invite you guys to actually go check those out. I will probably have them, the links to those down in the description below, just because I absolutely love how these turned out. So, let's get into the nitty-gritty and everything. You have all your visuals out, you have a playlist that you're going to just absolutely dedicate to when you're writing the book, and you understand that it may change. You have your ideas. So what's the next thing? Cue the Shia LaBeouf meme. Just start writing. I say this with the most endearing part of my writer's soul. Please, for the love of God, just start writing. Creatives are not immune from imposter syndrome. In fact, they probably have imposter syndrome more often than anybody else. The problem with that is that you let that stop you from start writing your first draft. Here's a little secret. First drafts are not meant to be perfect. First drafts are basically the bare bones. They're just you writing down the story to get what you want from your brain onto the page, and it's just your bare essential details. I talk about this in earlier videos when I talk about the anatomy of a story, and this sort of goes into that same shtick. A story is not made up of a single draft. It's made up of several drafts. Your first few drafts are your bare bones. Your bare bones are basically just the entirety of the story with very few little bells and whistles. It's basically just the structure. It's the bare bones timeline of what you want. There will be scenes that do not go specifically with other scenes. You will see some places where it's like, okay, we were here, how did we get to here? You're just writing down what the timeline of your story is. It's not until you get to the second draft all the way into your nth draft, considering for a lot of people it can take more than one draft after the first to get everything situated. This is where you're adding in your muscles and organs and everything. You're adding the structure. You're adding all the shiny bells and whistles. You're adding in details that you didn't think about before, but you did think about when you were doing your annotations and when you were going through doing your read through to see, okay, what can I add here and stuff like that. No one is immune from this step, but I will say this, I have recently gotten to where I have done annotations as I'm writing, and I will go back through, look at the annotations, and write out scenes from there. But nevertheless, everybody has those phases where they're still adding stuff in, where they're still like polishing off details, and they're just like, they're trying to fine-tune the story. That's basically all the muscles and organs drafts are. You're adding in details that are very, very sorely needed. Your final draft, and that's whatever number of drafts that you have gotten to, that's going to be the point where you're going to be adding in all of the finishing touches. And this is going to be like details of the story. This is going to be like minute details that may not make a big play, or they later on will make the biggest play imaginable. I've fallen into this a few times. Let's just say that when you make those connections and everything, your brain is basically doing the Kronk meme of, oh yeah, now it's all coming together. Yeah, let's just say that I'm very, very meme focused in this video. But here's the thing, you can't get to that final draft until you actually start writing. So when you start writing, it can be just a scene in the middle, it could be an idea or an interaction. It's just one of those things where it's like, you have to start writing at some point, and please, 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 for the love of God, do not worry about how your first draft sounds. It's not meant to be perfect. It is meant to be worked on. And trust me when I say, once you finally get from that first draft all the way to your final product, the just like gorge of details and stuff that you've done to fine-tune this book of yours, it's going to be well worth the wait. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for this first video of the year. I've just finished my 5th book. It's time for you to start yours. This is your sign for 2026 to be the birth year of your book. Whether you've been working on one for a while and you're finally going to publish it this year, or you're finally going to sit down with a pen and paper or with a keyboard and start writing your book, it's just one of those things for, yay, you're finally starting to write. And I'm so excited for it. Again, I do not mean to be so aggressive with this, but it's just like, I want people to write their stories. Please write your stories. And if you are going to be writing your stories, I'm going to be telling you about some events that I will be at where you can actually come and talk to me yourself if you're in the Alabama area. I plan on being very event heavy this year, and my first event of the year that I'm actually going to be selling books at is going to be in Montevallo for the Montevallo Backyard Book Fest on March 17th. I believe it's March 17th. I'll put it right here if it is March 17th or if it's a different day. It's a weekend in March. I'm going back to where I went to college for a short amount of time in Montevallo, Alabama, in Shelby County, and I will be actually selling my books there, and I'm very, very excited. I'll be selling my book merch box sets, I'll be selling signed copies of the book individually, and I will also be selling a lot of stickers. If you actually go to my Square site shop, I actually do have a thing where it says sticker collection, and I will be very much expanding on that. I am not only doing stickers based on the books I write, I'm also basing them off of my own little personal project called Chibi Cute Skulls. I first started this very humble collection out with doing hobbies and also with doing animal skulls, and also a few knick-knack skulls here and there, like my little cute Cthulhu skull, as well as a witchy skull and the Skulls and Roses skull, which was my first one that I ever actually drew for the series. But it's like, I have had a lot of ideas since then, and I have a lot more designs to show you. But which collection will I be debuting at the event in March? Who's to say? I have so many sets that I have planned, and I want to make sure that each one of them are given all the love. So if you're wanting to find out what stickers I'll be having there, you're going to have to come to Montevallo in March and see me at the Montevallo Backyard Book Festival. But if Montevallo is a little out of the ways for you, I do have another event that I'm going to in April. In April, I will be at the Fultondale Book Fest. It is going to be inside, and I am already signed up for that. I'm very, very excited, even though it's on the exact same weekend as the Huntsville Anime and Pop Culture Expo, and I will be missing some of my favorite voice actors that are going to be there. Crap. But nevertheless, if you're wanting to come and see me there as well, I will be there in Fultondale, and I will have more updates for where the events are going to be on my social media. So if you're interested, go down to my link tree in my description and basically go to my link tree, follow me on all my socials, as well as check out my shop. And also, this is the first time I'm actually going to be talking about this on the internet. I am actually going to be doing my first ever TV live interview for Day to Day with Mariah on April 20th to be actually talking about Arborea Lux and the companion novel that is going to be coming out literally a week after. I'm so very, very excited, primarily because this is my first time that I'm going to be on a live TV station soundstage, so there's that. Shout out to my friend Ryan. He's actually the one that was able to get me this interview because he's friends with one of the producers, and he actually gave my business email to the producer, and we've been talking about it for the past few months. I'm very, very excited. For those of you who are in the Huntsville area, you'll be able to tune in to watch the show on WHNT. I think that's the name of the news station, and all that. And for those of you who are not going to be able to watch, I will try to be getting a link up and hopefully try to get that ready for everybody to watch afterwards. I am expecting to be a little bit awkward just because I technically have done interviews like this before, but I usually have them doing them through a webcam. But I'm very, very excited to be doing this on live TV and also to be just talking about it. I'm very, very excited. And of course, later on in the year, I will be doing the Foothills Festival in Jasper. I will also be doing the Foothills Book Fest in Jasper as well. And I'll be doing some later on in the year. And I will be getting more details to you as soon as those details come out. But yeah, I think that is going to be it for this video. I've just been doing nothing but yammering on. I've sort of gone back to my roots of how I do my videos. And I kind of like how I do them that way. I will be redoing this entire series of videos, and I will be talking and basically putting them out as basically classes. I will be having bits and pieces of what's little stuff that you can do during the videos. So we'll get more into that. You guys stay tuned and watch for more of those videos. Also watch for more of my book trailers because Animae Nexum is coming out April 26th. If you've not already, please, please, please follow me on all my socials from my link tree. Check out my website and also my shop. And if you are wanting a signed copy of the book, please just go down, check out the shop, and let me know. I love writing notes to the people that buy my books from my site, and they're just a whole lot of fun. Also, I have some very weird analytics. Most of you people who are watching my videos are not subscribed. So please, 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 if you're interested in any of the videos that I have, please subscribe and please watch out for more videos. Well, I think that's it for me. This has been Kathleen Lyons here at the Magic Library, and I'm very much looking forward to how the rest of this year is going to go. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful time and keep writing. Bye, guys.